Get over here, Max. Max, have a seat. Hey, y'all. My apologies for my rowdy little grand dogs over here barking and carrying on. They bark if they hear like the wind blow, guys. So I'm giving it a few more minutes for some people to join. Giving it a few more minutes for some people to join. So I'll get started in a moment. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day on purpose. Today is September 21st, 2024. And if you have plans of going out, be safe out there. That's all I'm going to say about that. But guys, I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. Let's see. The only problem I'm having right now is that I don't see... Why is YouTube not saying that I'm live? Hold on. Okay, I did. Here it is. It's weird. I couldn't find my live stream, but I am indeed live. Let me share the live, guys. Share the stream, if you would, on your platforms. Your Facebook, your IG, as I am going to do that now. Excuse me. I'm going to do that right now. I'm sharing it to Facebook. Replay gang, you guys can definitely partake in this as well, because I have a goal of getting to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. And we're already in the month of September, which means I only have October, November, and December, guys, to do this. So I literally have 3 months. And I know for a fact that I will not be able to get there without your assistance. So please, if you're catching this on the replay, fill the stream. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. So, as we all know, Sean P. Diddy Combs has been indicted by the Southern District of New York, the federal government. He was taken into custody, and his defense attorney, he and his defense, I should say, presented what most of us would consider to be a lucrative bond agreement. Very lucrative. He offered the federal government $50 million by way of a property that he recently, I think he paid off the property $18 million to be able to offer that property. So it's unencumbered, open, free title, empty, ready for him to put it up for bond. He also ensured that his passport, the passport of his children, his mother, basically anyone within his immediate circle, his sons, even baby Love, who's, I think, 1 or 2 years old. She's an infant. She's a child, like a baby. Her passport was also surrendered to his attorney's law firm. After all of this, The first judge denied his bond offer and his request for bond, and sided with the government for detainment. His attorney appealed that decision and was able to see another judge the very next day, and the same thing happened. So I wanted to come to you today and kind of talk about some of the things that I've been thinking about as it relates to this case. Like, the first thing that really is like glaring to me is who else in Hollywood may be named in this case along with Diddy. Like, who else? One person that comes to mind is Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba Gooding Jr. was actually listed in Little Rod's lawsuit. If any of you remember, Little Rod's pending open lawsuit outlines the fact he brings him up in that civil lawsuit, alleging that he pushed up on him on a yacht. He made, like a pass at him, essentially, groped him a little bit. And in the lawsuit, Little Rod said that Gooding wouldn't stop until he forcibly made him stop. Like, he had to get up and, let him know, bro, this is not okay. I'm not okay with this. Stop touching me type situation. So I think that's one person. I definitely feel like that's one person that may be named. The next person that comes to mind that's also named in Little Rod's civil suit is Jenny from the Block. Yep, J-Lo. Little Rod outlined events that occurred in 1999 in a nightclub. There was a pum-puming. You guys, if you know, you know. If you read Little Rod's lawsuit, he outlines this entire event. He alleged that J-Lo brought in the pum-pum for Diddy, and the pum-puming occurred, according to Little Rod, Diddy was involved and responsible. He said that Diddy basically forced his artist at that time, Shine, to take the fall for the incident. Now, if you guys are familiar with that situation in the nightclub, you all know that Shine ended up doing, I think it was 10 years before he was deported back to his home country of Belize. And there were actually multiple people injured. And fortunately, no one was unalived, but there were multiple people injured in that. So could J-Lo be called to testify against Diddy? Or can she now be charged with bringing in the pum-pum? Because remember, when that prosecutor had that news conference, he clearly stated that they were not done. He said they were not done, that there may more than likely be more people named in association with this indictment. Little Rod also named Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, who, by the way, is a British royal, as one of Diddy's party goers. So he says He's naming these prominent figures. I'm sure, Prince Harry, the notation of Prince Harry doesn't really, to me, indicate like, oh, he was a part of the freak offs. More so that I feel like he's documented that so that, Diddy knows a lot of powerful people, not just in the US, but across the globe. And I mean, I'm sure that if the federal government had footage of Prince Harry partaking in the freak offs, I don't know how that would be handled. I don't know if they would actually bring charges against him or what have you, but we'll wait and see. Young Miami is also listed in Little Rod's lawsuit. He referenced her cousin. He referenced her cousin essaying him at a holiday party. He asserted that the assault was done at the direction of Sean P. Diddy Combs. So what he's saying is that Diddy told the cousin to go on him. At the time, P. Diddy was dating Young Miami. So could there be charges brought against the cousin, or Young Miami? I don't know. I also wanted to touch on the fact that there may be charges brought against Diddy's chief of staff, Christina Coram. Who is she? Christina Coram is the chief of staff of Combs Enterprise. She has been a key figure in Sean Diddy Combs's inner circle for years. While Diddy has publicly her as his right hand. A source close to the federal ex-trafficking investigation against him described her as more of a manipulator in chief. She is being likened to Ghislaine Maxwell. Everybody knows who that is. That's Jeffrey Epstein's fixer. So this lady, Christine, she was also in Little Rod's lawsuit. In his lawsuit, he stated that Christine would order ladies of the night, that she distributed drugs such as ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, weed, and mushrooms to Combs and all of his guests. So she would essentially help him to host as well as facilitate these freak offs, because she's ordering the women and also ensuring that there's enough party favors to go around. So I would say that it's a great possibility that she may be named in this as well. And these were events that occurred on his yacht, his rented yacht, and in his homes in LA, New York, and Miami. It is also noted in the federal government's indictment that members and associates of the Combs Enterprise, including high-ranking supervisors, security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and other Combs employees, facilitated the freak offs by booking hotel rooms, stocking the rooms with the freak off supplies, including controlled substances, baby oil, lubricant, and extra linen and lighting. Like, what? Oh my goodness. The federal government also alleged that these associates also arranged travel for victims and commercial ex workers. They also delivered large sums of cash to Mr. Combs for payment and even scheduled delivery of IV fluids. All I gotta say is that all of his employees, I mean everybody, the nanny, um, the gardener, everybody needs to get their affairs in order, because I am certain that the feds are going to want to interview people who had, like, who was in the inner circle, people who were around working for him for years. Probably even some ex-employees they probably want to speak to too. At the very least, I think that Christine should be expecting something to come down the pipeline for her soon. I mean, she was his handler, his fixer. I think she's gonna go down just like Ghislaine Maxwell did. I think she's going down right with him. So, but guys, let's talk a little bit about Cassie real quick. I have heard a lot of mixed opinions and reviews on this beautiful, brave woman. I've heard a lot. And I did a little research, so I'll be reading some information about her, and then I'll go ahead and let y'all know my opinion. But Cassie is an American musician, actress, and model who has a net worth of $4 million. Cassie Ventura, known as Cassie, first rose to prominence in the mid 2000s with her hit single, Me and You, in 2006. Produced by Ryan Leslie. The song was a major success, reaching the top of the Billboard Hot R&B and Hip Hop song charts and propelling her into the spotlight. Her split title debut album, released the same year, showcased her distinct style, blending R&B, pop, and hip hop, had solidified her place in the music industry. Following her initial success, Cassie continued to release music, though she faced challenges in matching the impact of her debut. And let me stop there for a second, because that is so true. Like, when you think of Cassie, everybody automatically thinks of Me and You. That single was just, I mean, from the beat to how her cadence is just, I love that song. So I can understand her having challenges topping that, because that was pretty big. She experimented with various musical styles and collaborated with artists such as Diddy, Nicki Minaj, and G-Eazy. Her modeling career also flourished, with Cassie becoming a muse for various fashion designers and brands. Known for her edgy, fashion forward style in her personal life, Cassie has been known for her long term relationship with music mogul Sean Diddy Combs, which began in 2007. Now, pause right there, y'all, because I want to point something very important out at this juncture. So it says that Cassie started dating Diddy in 2007. Now, from my understanding, in court documents, in court filings, I think it says that she started dating him when she was 19 years old. So I don't know if if these people have the start of their relationship correct, because Kathy's date of birth is August 26, 1986. That would have made her 20 or 21, depending on, if it was before her birthday that year or after, when she started dating Diddy, who at that time was 38 years old. 17-year gap in age. Because his birthday is November 4th, 1969. So, I mean, I understand that, to a certain extent, age is nothing but a number, for sure. But it concerns me when you get decades older than your mate. It just concerns me a little bit. It gives me Pedialyte vibes. It makes me a little uncomfortable. It's a little unsettling to me, because what do you guys have in common? What do you have in common, really? Let's say you're 40 years old and you're dating a 20-year-old. What do you guys have in common? You have lived and experienced so much more than that 20-year-old that is kind of unfair. You know what I'm saying? If I were to date a guy that was 20 years old at my age, I'm follow him around, because I have more life experience. I know how the game works, how life works. So it's kind of like, nah, if I was dating younger like that, yeah, it would definitely be probably some means of manipulation, because we would have not much in common. I don't see myself with a younger man, over being older, 17 to 20 years older than a man, and having any type of interest, musical, arts, literature, foods. I don't think so. But the couple relationship frequent attention and the couple goes later. Why am I chopping up like that, guys? Hold on. Let me fix my sound. Sound check, sound check. Sound check, sound check. Okay, I think we're better now. Let me go back and read that again. It says that the couple's relationship was a frequent subject of media attention until their split in 2018. In 2019, Cassie married her personal trainer, Alex Fine, and the couple welcomed their first child, a daughter, later that year. So they split in 2018. So keep that in mind because I'm going to kind of break. We'll get to it when we get to it. Hold on. So Cassie, just to give you a little bit more background on her, she was born in New London, Connecticut, and was given the name Cassandra Elizabeth Ventura. Her mother was of West Indian, Mexican, and African American descent, while her father was Filipino. She attended the Williams School, a preparatory school, and graduated in 2004. When she was 14, Cassie began modeling for local stores and eventually started booking shoots for national brands like Delia's and in magazines like 17. She also took voice lessons and started dancing in her high school's performing arts program. After graduating from high school, Cassie moved to New York City and continued taking dance classes at the Broadway Dance Center in addition to modeling. In November 2023, Cassie filed a bombshell lawsuit against her former boyfriend, Diddy. In the lawsuit, Cassie alleged that she was raped and subjected to years of other physical and emotional abuses by Diddy. The lawsuit contains a number of shocking claims. For instance, Kathy claims that Diddy was physically violent towards her and introduced her to a lifestyle that included excessive alcohol and substance abuse. Cassie claims Diddy forced her to engage in various acts with a succession of male prostitutes while he filmed the encounters. Cassie claims that after she tried to break up with Diddy in 2018, he forced his way into her house and raped her. The lawsuit accuses Combs of X trafficking, human trafficking, SA, gender motivated violence, and X harassment. Cassie's suit also claims that in 2012, Diddy became so enraged at a rumor that she was dating rapper Kid Cudi. He threatened to blow up the rival's car. Not long after that threat was made, Cudi's car reportedly did indeed explode in his driveway. Kid Cudi has since confirmed his car exploded in his driveway in 2012. An attorney representing Diddy vehemently denied the allegations on behalf of his client and stated further that for the past 6 months, Mr. Combs has been subjected to Ms. Ventura's persistent demand of $30 million under the threat of writing a damaging book about their relationship, which was unequivocally rejected as blatant blackmail. Despite withdrawing her initial threat, Ms. Ventura has now resorted to filing a lawsuit riddled with baseless and outrageous lies aiming to tarnish Mr. Combs's reputation in seeking a payday. Now that Cassie's lawyers claim that Mr. Combs offered Miss Ventura 8 figures to silence her and prevent the filing of this lawsuit. She rejected his efforts. Now, guys, he offered her 8 figures to not file her lawsuit. 8 figures. Do y'all realize that an 8-figure salary means that someone earns between 10, excuse me, Ski, stop. That's like insane, like 1 billion. So for people who are saying, like, in my opinion, like, people who are, she did it for money, this is my take. That $30 million, let's say, I'm going to entertain Diddy's attorney's argument for a minute. He's claiming that she was threatening to write a book, a damaging book, to expose details of their relationship. Maybe it's because I'm far away from the mic. Let me get over here a little bit. I'll entertain it for a second and say, okay, the $30 million that she accepted the day after the lawsuit was filed was only her first move. I believe that Cassie filed this lawsuit with such detail and so much information outlining this criminal enterprise. I believe that what happened here is that her attorneys drafted and crafted it in such a way that there's no way the feds could have not done anything about it. There's no way. The lawsuit that is Little Rod's lawsuit, Cassie's lawsuit, I haven't read Dawn Richards' lawsuit just yet, but I am going to work on getting the details if they're available. But all of these different lawsuits outline his criminal activities to a T with a lot of information. So based on the date they broke up, the statutes of limitation to go after him criminally may have been up. Now, that's what I wrote as a side note self, right? But just to be certain, what I did was I went and I did some more research. I did some more digging. And based on where the alleged crimes occurred, she alleges in his homes in Florida, in his home in Florida, in Miami, in LA, and also New York City. So I looked up each state. And for Florida, the statute of limitation is 10 years or less, depending on the nature of the crime. However, I want you guys to pay close attention. In Florida, there is often no statutes of limitation for human trafficking offenses, especially those including minors. This is due to the heinous nature of these crimes. However, if the victim was an adult when the incident occurred, they have 10 years after the incident to file a claim under 18 U.S. Code 1595. If the human trafficking occurred against a child, The 10 years statute of limitations may not begin until the child turns 18. Now, what is 18 USC 1595? That is a civil remedy. An individual who is a victim of a violation of Section 1889, 1589, 1590, or 1591 of this chapter may bring an action, a civil action, against the predator in the appropriate district court of the United States and may recover damages and reasonable attorney fees. So that's Florida. So if you listen to me carefully, the statutes of limitations on sex trafficking, which would have been the crime that Cassie could have called and said, hey, listen, he's forcing me to do this X act with these people and what have you. They state that the statutes of limitation is 10 years or less, but then it goes on to instruct the victim to file a civil suit against the predator. Let's look at New York. New York statute of limitations is 21 years or more, depending on the crime. In New York, the statute of limitations for ex-trafficking victims to file a civil action is 15 years. The victim is 15 years after the victim was freed. For minors and victims with disabilities, the statute of limitation is 15 years after the victim reaches the age of majority or disability ceases. I don't understand how a disability could cease, but okay. The statute of limitations is told during any period in which the victim is or remains subject to trafficking. Again, in the wording of the law and the statutes of limitation, it gives the victim remedy to file a civil suit. In California, the statutes of limitation is 21 years or more, depending on the crime itself. In California, the statute of limitation for human trafficking victims to file a civil claim is 7 years from the date they were freed from the trafficking situation. If the victim was a minor, then when the trafficking occurred, the statute of limitation is 10 years from the date that they reach the age of maturity. The statute of limitation may be suspended if the victim could not have reasonably discovered the cause of action, if the defendant induced the victim to delay filing the action, if the defendant made threats causing the victim to delay. So all of those three states basically offer the remedy of filing a civil action. So I'm thinking that in lieu of, if you do not call 911 and say, hey, this is what's happening while you're in a situation, I guess that's why they give this remedy. Because I looked up what the statutes of limitation was on ex-trafficking, and each state gave me civil remedies. Let me see. It's a federal crime, so I believe, yeah. Now, I have heard that, among other things, she had help. Cassie had help with the lawsuit, putting it together. Yeah, I would imagine so. She had attorneys. She had to file a civil suit. Luckily for her, she hired someone that was just excellent in putting the lawsuit together and also crafting it in such a way to highlight Diddy's criminal activities. I've heard that she stayed for too long, or, and then now she wants to file a lawsuit. I've heard some women, kind of victim shaming. And I'm just really confused, because what if that was your daughter, your sister, your cousin? And to be honest with you, no one gets to determine the timeline or time frame in which a victim, or I should say, a survivor of domestic violence and ex trafficking, you know, regains their power, regains a sense of self, and really kind of figures out, like, what was that? It can take some time before they break their silence. I just want everybody to keep that in mind, because I've been hearing a lot of noise about, um, Cassie did this, Cassie did. What about what Diddy did? I'm looking at a lot of men right now sideways, because unless you've been living under a rock, you've had to see the video of Sean P. Holmes assaulting Cassie in that hallway. There's no way you didn't see it. At any rate, let's I'm gonna, oh shoot, hold on guys. Uno momento, por favor. I gotta, what is this? Hold on guys, just 1 second. Sorry, I had to pick something up real quick. Okay, now let's get into the arrest. I don't know, have you guys seen the arrest video yet? TMZ released it. I'm still trying to get this up. What is that, man? Let me see. Oh yeah, that is. Oh. Okay, let's get it right now. TMZ released his arrest. They did it really. Diddy. Hold on, guys. I'm trying to cue this video up. There we go. Everything, y'all. It's crazy. Dying. I don't know why it's buffering like that. It seems like in the afternoon, in the evenings when I go live, like my Wi-Fi does not like when I go live late night. My Wi-Fi is like, why are you live right now? Let's see. There we go, guys. You guys see the video of him? They're walking. Like, you see him? They walk up to him. Kindly let him know, like, sir, you're coming with me. Plainclothes officers. Plainclothes officers pull up on him. Homeland Security officers. Letting them know, like, yeah, you need to come with me. And if you look at him. It's over. I don't think that Diddy is going to see the outside for quite some time. I don't believe that Sean P. Diddy Combs is going to be out and about anytime soon. He's going to need to have a jury of his peers. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to go in this order. I wasn't going to go in this order, but I want to now, because I want you guys to hear from Method Man. Now, Method Man, I think he's a talented actor. I think he's a talented rap, all that.
People are saying that it's like the end of hip hop as we know it. You know, so I'm just asking your opinion on that. Do you agree with that statement? Do you feel like, you know, some people being shown in a different light, is that ruining the way we're going to see hip hop going forward, or like the culture?
I don't think that it has anything to do with hip hop. What are we talking about here, really? Like,
well,
as far as
I mean, I don't want to like just go straight to it, but you know, like everything with Diddy, people are saying it's kind of the end of hip hop at that era. Okay.
Has nothing to do with hip hop at all. So I don't see the correlation whatsoever. If we're talking about creative and music and stuff like that, there's people still listening to R. Kelly shit. You know what I'm talking about? So, I mean, I don't know. I can't answer that, but I don't think it has anything to do with it.
So what kind of hat is that? It looks great.
Crochet hat. It's actually my son's. He told me to make sure I bring it back. Don't fuck it up.
Oh my gosh, no way. You have the crochet do-rags as well. I don't know
do they? I don't wear do-rags anymore.
Wait, so is it your son's line? It's like, wait, so do-rags snatch your edges?
Yeah, they snatch your edges from what I heard.
I ain't never heard that. Wait, so is this a good experience?
I'm just playing.
I was like,
you know what? That line you get in the middle of your head and all that shit.
Yeah.
I'm just too grown for do-rags. I got too much hair for a do-rag.
So, Method Man to me seemed like he really didn't want to get into it. He seemed like he didn't really want to discuss it. He seemed like he would have been better off not even them touching on that topic. You heard him. He was like, man, they still listen to R. Kelly stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's see. He didn't want no parts of that. Now, get into this. I think this is pretty exciting. This is what I was gonna lead with this video. Decided to actually save the best for last. I think it's the best. It's from Law Crime, right? Let's see. It's from Law Crime. And this video, let's see. This is one of the prosecutors. Nadia what is her name? Nadia Shihata. She assisted in R. Kelly's prosecution. So let's get into this real quick, y'all.
After the indictment of Sean Diddy Combs, people have been comparing the prosecutions of Combs and R. Kelly, both famous figures in the music industry who have been charged with federal sex trafficking and racketeering crimes. And after the conviction of Kelly and the new indictment of Combs, we are going to break down the similarities and what we can expect with former R. Kelly prosecutor Nadia Shihata. Welcome to Sidebar.
Oh, Nadia Shihata.
I'm Jesse Weber. Well, since the indictment of producer Diddy Combs, conspiracy, fraud, and transportation in New York, there are obviously federal sex. New York, he was sentenced to 30 years in prison, although that was in the Eastern District of New York. This is Combs' case is in the Southern District of New York. But the question is, what are the comparisons between the two cases? Is this the same kind of prosecution? Is it different? Can we expect the same? And for that, I want to bring in on somebody who we have been wanting.
Why is my microphone acting like this, y'all? Get this right.
To have on for the whole week, but she's so busy, but I'm so happy to have her on. Nadia Shihata, who was one of the federal prosecutors in the Eastern District of New York that helped put him away. Nadia, thank you so much for coming here on Sidebar. I've really been looking forward to this.
Thank you for having me.
You know what I'm going to ask you? Reaction to reading the indictment, and I also don't know if you had an opportunity to read the additional information that was put forward by prosecutors in their letters to the judges regarding they provided a little bit more detail. So what was your reaction to this information?
Well, I think this is what I had been expecting since we learned publicly that the Southern District was conducting this investigation once the searches happened. And I think, as I said to you before, these types of cases take time to build, particularly when you're pursuing racketeering and sex trafficking charges. And, this is as expected. I think it sounds like they've spoken to a number of victims and witnesses, accounts by looking through electronic evidence and communications. And once they were finally ready to proceed in court, obviously we all.
Talk to me first about, before we get into the comparisons between R. Kelly's case and Combs' case, charges that you expected, or did you expect different charges? Did you expect additional charges?
These are the charges I expected. I expected a racketeering charge. They've charged it as racketeering conspiracy here, and sex trafficking, given that the allegations about commercial sex acts with prostitutes being flown in. I think these are the types of charges I would have expected in a case like this.
Okay, so let's get into it, because the first thing that I noticed between Sean Combs' indictment and R. Kelly's indictment was the Southern District charged him, as you said, with racketeering conspiracy. Racketeering. Why the difference? What's the difference in prosecutions there?
We could have charged it as racketeering conspiracy in the R. Kelly case as well. What we decided was we wanted to list out the specific predicate acts, which is something you don't have to do when you're charging it as racketeering conspiracy. It does give kind of notice to the defense of exactly what conduct is at issue. And so for strategic reasons, often you weigh in order to have jury instructions that are more clear to the jury and to avoid having to respond to a motion for a bill of particulars down the line.
By the way, as we're sorting through these legal filings surrounding Sean Combs and these really disgusting details, can I just take a quick second to talk about something
positive, something that I think you're actually going to really love. Here's a question for you. Would you want cash back when you buy gas and groceries? Because if you do, that's where our amazing partner and sponsor of Sidebar comes in, Upside. So this is a free app, truly so easy to use. Upside gets you real cash back, money that appears in your Upside app that you can transfer straight into your bank account. So just this weekend, I used Upside to find a gas station. I claimed an offer. I paid with my credit card at the pump, and then I followed the steps in the app to get cash back. It's so simple to use. It's free. Why not try to get cash back? And you can use Upside at all different kinds of places, including restaurants, convenience stores. So to find out how much you could earn, click the link in the description to download Upside or scan the QR code on screen and use our promo code SIDEBAR, and you'll get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. So to work through that just a little bit, are you saying it is easier to secure a conviction for a racketeering conspiracy charge versus a straight up racketeering charge?
No, I think they're both difficult charges to secure convictions for. The evidence supporting whether it's a conspiracy or a substantive RICO charge is essentially the same. But it's just really kind of a preference of the prosecutors about how they want to pursue it.
Because racketeering, right, we're talking about a criminal enterprise. We're talking about these underlying crimes. And with conspiracy, you have to say there was an agreement to break the law. There were overt acts that were taken in furtherance of that. And there's common themes, right? You need a criminal organization. You need a common purpose, all together. I am getting kind of mixed analysis on this, and I figured who better to talk about this than you. But for all the underlying crimes, so whether it was R. Kelly, where there were underlying crimes of sexual exploitation of a child or forced labor, or here you're seeing in the Combs indictment, they have arson, they have kidnapping, they have, again, forced labor. Does the prosecution have to prove those underlying crimes, even though he's not specifically charged with that? Do they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that a kidnapping occurred, an arson occurred, forced labor occurred? Did you have to prove that sexual exploitation of a child occurred? What do you have to prove in terms of racketeering?
So in order to be successful on their charge, they don't have to necessarily prove every single one of those types of crimes. I would imagine that they intend and want to present evidence of each to the jury, so they will in fact present evidence to support those crimes. But essentially, for racketeering conspiracy, you need to prove at least two such kind of predicate crimes, and an agreement that members of the conspiracy would agree that at least two such crimes would be committed. So, and is that
beyond a reasonable doubt the highest standard, or is it something lower, preponderance of the evidence, which is a lower standard?
No, it would still be. You'd still have to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt, given that it's a criminal case.
Gotcha.
For example, in the R. Kelly case, where we did it as substantive RICO, we listed, I can't remember how many, but multiple predicate acts. We needed to prove two of them beyond a reasonable doubt. Obviously, we intended and tried to prove all of them beyond a reasonable doubt, but the key is two for racketeering.
And I'm sorry, just for our viewers who might be lost in the weeds a little bit, if you can, what exactly is the difference in terms of what you have to prove for racketeering and what you have to prove for conspiracy, racketeering conspiracy? So you give if there's two different jury instructions, right? You're saying two different kinds of cases here. Very simply, what is the difference the jury to find in your case versus Combs' case when it comes to racketeering?
So for substantive racketeering, you have to prove the predicate acts. At least two of the predicate acts were committed. For racketeering conspiracy, it's an agreement that two such acts will occur. Gotcha. But I anticipate that the Southern District prosecutors will do much more than just prove an agreement. They will present evidence that these acts in fact occur.
By the way, because I think this is going to be common for both cases, you have to establish, as I mentioned, there's a criminal organization, the method, the means, that there was a common purpose of this criminal organization. Talk to us about how you proved it.
They feel strongly that, come on, Sean P. Diddy Combs is a billionaire. Absolutely, he had the means to actually establish this conspiracy and to continue to ex traffic multiple men and women across state lines. And let's just be honest, the feds do not, they have a 90% success rate. 90%. And to be honest, I doubt that the federal government would waste its time going after P. Diddy. I mean, he's a powerful figure. Going after him, I don't think they would chance it without feeling and or knowing they have him dead to rights. In the upcoming weeks, hopefully, they will begin to release discovery. Um, Hopefully, it will be made public. We'll see. I log into Pacer every day to check, guys. Every day.
Your case and what you anticipate prosecutors will do in Combs' case.
Yeah, so we were very focused in the R. Kelly trial in presenting to the jury the existence of an enterprise, this network of individuals, the entourage surrounding R. Kelly, that the types of crimes that we charged in that case. And so I imagine that a lot of the focus in this trial against Sean Combs will be similar, proving up that the network, the criminal enterprise, and their common goal and their common methods of helping facilitate the crimes that Diddy allegedly committed.
There was one glaring difference I also saw between the R. Kelly indictment and the Sean Combs indictment. I was expecting to see the term Mann Act multiple times, and it's nowhere to be found. You, in your indictment, specifically called out the Mann Act violations as it were underlying crimes in the racketeering case. You charged him with Mann Act charges, namely, and when we're talking about the Mann Act, that Kelly had transported people for the purposes of illegal sexual activity. And that illegal sexual activity could have been exposing someone to sexual diseases or reckless endangerment, that this was illegal sex crimes. And in Combs' indictment, they don't mention the Mann Act. They say sex trafficking, but they have sex trafficking charges by fraud, coercion, or force of one person. Were you surprised that you didn't see that?
So they do have a Mann Act charge in the case, count 3. They just don't call it, don't specify that it's the Mann Act. But transportation for purposes of prostitution is, I believe, the third count, and that is a count under the Mann Act. And I think that's also listed as one of the types of crimes in the RICO conspiracy. So I think there will be evidence in that case of transportation, I think mainly of commercial sex workers for these freak-offs that are kind of described in the indictment. But the sex trafficking that they have and I charge, these are just different statutes at the disposal of prosecutors. They charge the force, fraud, and coercion one is a very serious charge. It carries a mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years if he's convicted of it, and up to life. So it's a serious charge.
Now, one of the things that they have come out and talked about, thank you for clarifying that, but one of the things that they have come out and said in their subsequent court regarding bail is, they've gotten, I think it was coming from the defense, that there's only one victim in this case. There's only one victim. They said, no, there's multiple victims. And do you get the sense, one of those charges seems to be with respect to only one victim. In your case, in your indictment and this indictment, how specific do you get in terms of how many victims there are, who those victims are? What do you make of that?
Well, I think it's clear that in the RICO conspiracy charge, they explicitly state that they use the plural. There's more than one victim there. Part of the reason they may have charged it this way is because they are concerned about witness intimidation, witness harassment, and
now the Mann Act, guys. The Mann Act, let's see. The Mann Act, also known as the White Slave Traffic Act, is federal law that criminalizes the transportation of any woman or girl for the purpose of prostitution or debauchery or for any other immoral purpose. The Mann Act passed in June 1910 and named after Illinois Congressman James R. Mann.
in charging it as a conspiracy, they don't out at this stage kind of the detailed specifics about each victim who they've received information on. Whereas as we charged it in R. Kelly, we kind of listed out predicate acts involving specific victims. That being said, my guess, and this is all just speculation, is that the reason the substantive sex trafficking charge only includes one victim is this is a case out of the Southern District of New York, and so they need substantive charges like sex trafficking. They need venue in New York. So the RICO conspiracy charge may include sex trafficking victims works from throughout the country that the Southern District would not be able to charge as separate sex trafficking counts because they don't relate, they don't have a nexus to New York.
Just so I understand, you're saying that this something could be illegal maybe in another state, but not necessarily in New York, or am I misunderstanding?
It's a bit complicated, but it's essentially a venue issue. Not that it's not illegal in New York, but that they would need to charge it out of venue in New York. So you could have a charge that said, victim number 2 was sex trafficked in the Central District of California, if it happened in Los Angeles, let's say.
Right.
And a defendant could challenge that and say, you don't have venue to bring that charge here in New York. But with RICO, the advantage of RICO, whether it's a conspiracy or a substantive RICO charge, is as long as part of the RICO has a tie to who are prosecuting the case, you can include conduct that occurred entirely outside of New York.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, one of the other glaring differences, of course, is that R. Kelly's indictment, it was about sexual exploitation and abuse of children. That was a main theme. And one of the things, and I've spoken to different legal analysts about this, they were surprised not to see that in the Combs indictment because there were allegations, we don't know if they were true, but there were allegations regarding minors being around these parties or soliciting minors. And there was nothing about that in this indictment. Now, you could say it all stemmed from one alleged victim of his. It all stemmed from Rodney Jones, who said that he was tasked with securing minors for these parties and things like that, whether or not he was credible. But were you surprised there was nothing about underage people in this indictment?
I can't say I was surprised because obviously
I was a little surprised myself that wasn't listed.
I'm not privy to the evidence that the prosecutors have been able to gather in this case, and they can only pursue charges that they believe that they can prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So while there may be allegations out there, to the extent they haven't been able to reach that threshold that they think they can win a case charging those types of crimes, it's not surprising that they wouldn't be included. I will say, though, they have, repeatedly said in their press conference that the investigation is ongoing. And I think they likely anticipate that now that the charges are public and that and that Mr. Combs is in jail, that there is a possibility, at least, of other people coming forward, other victims potentially feeling more comfortable coming forward.
Oh my goodness, guys. How many victims do you think are likely to now come forward? Do you think there'll be like hundreds? Like, seriously. Because Aubrey O'Day mentioned, I think, on her social media that she's had some really earth shattering conversations with victims, healing conversations with victims of Diddy. And they're breathing a sense of relief right now. And they can only imagine what it would be like if he were sentenced to these charges that they, according to Aubrey, lived through many, many years. She also made an indication that there are even victims that the public don't even know about.
That this is a serious investigation with charges pending. And so maybe we will see additional charges of that in the future.
Speaking, when you were reading this indictment, did it remind you of R. Kelly's indictment? Because there's similar themes, right? Of coercion, power, influence, violence. Did you, a network of people, did you get that feeling that it read very similar?
There are certainly similarities, and they are similar types of figures and relying on the same type of network that a lot of kind of powerful entertainers have around them. So yeah, I certainly saw some parallels between the two cases.
Both of those cases involve forced labor allegations, right? The idea that, I think for Combs, and please amplify this when it comes to Kelly, is that getting people to do what you want with promises either of money or promises of something of value or promises of opportunity or threats to their lives to engage in certain behavior. Talk to me about that forced labor in the case and definitely saw Kelly case.
Yeah, it was primarily on of sexual services, which courts the actual performance of the sexual services, but also in the R. Kelly case, there was videotaping. So essentially kind of compelling people to star in these pornographic videos with others. It's not specified in the Diddy indictment exactly what the forced labor charge encompasses there, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was also these sexual services and related to the freak off events. I can see that being charged as both sex trafficking and forced labor.
Interesting. Another comparison I think you can make between the Combs and R. Kelly legal cases is the issue of bail. So when the issue of bail came up for R. Kelly, my understanding was it was denied. And here for Combs, after 2 attempts, both in front of a magistrate judge and then appealed to a district court, denied him pretrial rules, found that he was incredibly dangerous, that he allegedly had been contacting witnesses and victims in the case. So what similarities do you see on that issue between Combs' situation and R. Kelly's situation?
Yeah, in both cases, obviously the seriousness of the crimes and the potential lengthy prison sentence that each individual faced is, key to judge. And I think also the allegations that are included in the Southern District indictment about obstruction of justice and witness tampering, those are things that judges take very seriously when they're considering their actions. And I imagine that was a key consideration for the judge in this case.
And Combs had offered a bail package of $50 million secured by his house, GPS monitoring, home confinement.
Yes, offer a $50 million bond package. But both judges, the first judge that he saw, as well as the second judge, rejected his bail package offer. So he's definitely going to be staying in custody at this point until his
by an outside security team, no passport, no phone, logs to his house that could be shared with the court, and the court felt that was insufficient. Did R. Kelly ever put up a similar kind of package that was denied?
It was nowhere near as extensive as the one put up by Diddy in the Southern District case. I don't remember the specifics, but it certainly, I think at the point where R. Kelly was prosecuted, his kind of wealth had diminished substantially. He still was a wealthy person, but I don't think at the level that it really is ability to put up $50 million property on the line.
Do you think it was the right decision from both judges to deny bail?
Well, I certainly thought it was the right decision in the R. Kelly case. We argued for it. And I think, I think bail are tough decisions, but I think where there's a real concern about witness intimidation and obstruction of justice, that it's appropriate to be held. That being said, there's no question that being incarcerated while your trial is pending makes it more difficult to prepare for trial. Just kind of obvious things like your lawyers being able to meet with you frequently, being able to review discovery, particularly electronic discovery, which it sounds like there may be a lot of in this case. That's obviously much, much more challenging when an individual is incarcerated.
Let me first ask you real quick, when do you think this trial would even happen with Combs?
That's tough to predict. I think kind of your run-of-the-mill federal trials usually take about a year to get to trial, sometimes more. It's possible that this case will be designated complex by the judge, given what we're hearing about the type and volume of electronic evidence in the case. Certainly, if Diddy stays incarcerated pending trial, his lawyers may move expeditiously in the case, but it's a balance when you're a defense attorney. Obviously, you want to get your client out of jail as quickly as possible, or potentially as quickly as possible, but you also want to make sure you're prepared for trial, and that involves ensuring you have enough time to prepare the case properly.
And again, moving forward, with respect to the witnesses and the victims who would potentially be testifying at a trial, how do you keep them protected? When do you reveal who they are? How does it work in terms of them testifying in an upcoming trial? Because that's a very, very sensitive issue moving forward, particularly since now, after the release of the indictment, we're still not entirely sure who is cooperating with the government.
Yeah, that was a big concern for us in the R. Kelly case, because the victims that were publicly known, incredible amount of harassment, both online and some even had crimes committed against them. So, you have to, at a certain stage, tell the defense who your witnesses are going to be and and identify the victims for the defense so they can prepare properly. But I imagine that the prosecutors will do what we did and tried to do in the R. Kelly case, which is kind of make sure that the identities of the victims are not publicly disclosed for as long as possible. And for certain victims, kind of never publicly known in our case, we filed motions to allow them to testify under pseudonyms, which the court granted. So I imagine that similar motions will likely be made in the Diddy case, and they now have a precedent to follow for doing just that.
And before I let you go, one final question about pretrial release. Look, I think his attorney at the time of this recording is now appealing that decision to a higher court. Are there any, and going from your experience with the R. Kelly case, and I don't recall off the top of my head how many attempts he might have made to have that bail issue revisited, but are there opportunities for Combs to have a court revisit this? Are there opportunities for him where that bail, he will be allowed out on bail? Or do you think, given the decisions of the magistrate judge, the district court judge, R. Kelly, that is unlikely?
I think it's released, but I don't think it's unlikely to try to get released. R. Kelly filed a number of motions and appeals to do just that. He was not successful. I think it's particularly difficult on appeal to the Second Circuit because they will not be conducting a de novo review of the district court judge's decision. They have a very deferential standard. And so the question won't be if those judges would have made a different decision if they were deciding this in the first instance, but rather whether the judge below made a clear error. And
right.
That's a tough road to climb.
Yeah, because it makes sense why the judge decided this way. You might disagree, but you're like, it might have the legal backing to understand that. Like the district court judge was actually reviewing the magistrate court judge's decision de novo. Fresh, clean slate, clean eyes, not giving deference to what the prior judge said, and clearly was persuaded by the prosecution's argument. So this is now the beginning of it. It will progress. I'm sure there's going to be more similarities moving forward between Combs' case and R. Kelly's case. But Nadia Shihata, thank you so much for coming on. And really appreciate your perspective, your experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
For those of you who are just coming in, hey, Libby Lou. Hey, BB London. Hey, Bush Babies. For those of you who are just coming in, prosecutors who worked on prosecuting R. Kelly and Nadia Shihata. And her perspective on this was actually really good. I agree with her. I don't believe that Sean P. Diddy Combs will be getting a bond until, well, let me put it this way. He's not getting out until he's acquitted. He's just not getting out. Not until he's acquitted, guys. He's going to be honored of this. Hold on, guys. My sound is cracking up. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Put some emojis in the chat if you guys can hear me. I hear my mic. I hear my voice crackling. Do you guys hear me good or? In the chat if you can hear me, guys. I'm having a very difficult time. My mic is cleared up. I don't understand why that happens. Guys, it's kind of weird. Because at all. Let me undo this and step right up here. Okay, guys. I want to say thank you all for joining me tonight. I appreciate you guys' in the comments. I don't see not one emoji. Can you, something foreign? Hey, foreign. Hey, something foreign. How are you, my love? I hope you're doing well. Let's see here. I'm trying to show you guys something else. Hold on. Why won't it show me this? Well, it won't even show it to me. What in the world? Let me edit it. Public save. And hit it. And then refresh. I hope you guys are having a wonderful morning, afternoon, or night based on where okay, why is it showing me this history? This is weird. Okay, well, I posted a short, guys. I'm not gonna look for it. I posted a short. It's on my channel, and it's basically of where Sean is currently being housed. He is being housed. Let me just out the audio. You guys can go back and look at it. Street view of MDC Brooklyn. MDC Brooklyn is a United States federal administrative detention facility in the Sunset Park neighborhood of Brooklyn. It holds male and female prisoners of all security levels. It is operated by the Federal Bureau of Prisons and of the United States Department of Justice. This Sean P. Diddy Combs is being held pending his trial. So he is being held there. Other individuals that have been held there is Lane Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, who else? There's been a couple of famous individuals held in R. Kelly. That's right, R. Kelly. That's kind of like the start of your federal bureau journey, I guess. Everybody's profile starts on Brooklyn MDC. Now there has been rumor that Diddy is on sideways watch. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. I don't think that Sean P. Diddy Combs would go through with this attempt. I think that he cares too much about himself to do that. I don't think so. I think that my prediction is that this is going to go to trial. Diddy is a outrageous amount of money fighting this case. I don't have a prediction on the outcome. discovery. But once that discovery starts flying out, guys, my prediction on the verdict. This is crazy. This is a whole new microphone, y'all. And it's giving me a problem. At any rate, guys, I'm going to get up out of here. Thank you guys for spending this going over this P. Diddy Combs case. Again, I will keep you guys posted should there be anything that comes up in this case on a daily basis to make sure that I stay on top of any filings made by the government or by Diddy's attorneys. Okay, guys, until next time.